Deep within the heart of an ancient estate, hidden behind towering hedges and veiled in perpetual twilight, lies the forbidden garden maze. Its twisting pathways, overgrown with thorny vines and shadowed by gnarled trees, seem to breathe with a life of their own. Whispers of its cursed past echo through the air, carried by a wind that chills to the bone. Few who enter after sundown ever return, and those who do speak of things that defy reason, shifting walls, statues that watch with stone eyes, and a presence that stalks the labyrinth's darkest corners. Tonight we step into this place of nightmares, where the line between reality and the unknown blurs. But be warned, the maze has a way of keeping its secrets, and not all who wander its paths are meant to leave. Stay close and listen carefully, for the stories you're about to hear are not for the faint of heart. The forbidden garden maze is waiting, and it has chosen you. Now turning to the origins of this sinister labyrinth, the forbidden garden maze was not always a place of dread. Centuries ago, it was the pride of a reclusive aristocrat, a man whose name has been lost to time, but whose deeds linger in the shadows. He was a figure of wealth and mystery, known to shun society and immerse himself in pursuits that others dared not speak of. Whispers of his fascination with the dark arts began to spread, and it was said that he designed the maze not as a garden, but as a prison, a place to contain the forces he had summoned but could not control. The maze itself was no ordinary creation. Its walls, crafted from towering hedges and ancient stone, seemed to shift and rearrange themselves, as if guided by a will of their own. Visitors who ventured too deep would find themselves hopelessly lost, their cries for help swallowed by the labyrinth's endless corridors. It was said that the aristocrat, in his final days, cursed the maze, binding it to his restless spirit. From that day forward, anyone who entered after sundown would find themselves ensnared, their fate sealed by the maze's malevolent design. To this day, those who dare to walk its paths speak of strange phenomena, the faint sound of whispers carried on the wind, as though the maze itself is alive and watching. Some claim to hear their names called out in the rustling leaves, while others swear they've seen shadowy figures darting just out of sight. The pathways, once thought to be static, are said to change without warning, leading wanderers deeper into the maze's heart, where escape becomes impossible. The legend of the Forbidden Garden Maze is one of warning, a tale of hubris and the price of meddling with forces beyond human understanding. It stands as a reminder that some secrets are best left buried, and some doors are better left unopened. As we delve deeper into the maze's dark history, the next story reveals the chilling fate of one who dared to challenge its curse. A tale that begins with a moonlit garden party and ends in a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. Now turning to the first haunting tale of the Forbidden Garden Maze, we encounter the story of Eleanor Grayson, a young woman whose life took a tragic turn one fateful night in the 1920s. Eleanor was no ordinary guest at the moonlit garden party held on the estate. She was known for her striking beauty and an air of mystery that seemed to follow her wherever she went. Friends and acquaintances often spoke of her fascination with the maze, a place she claimed held secrets she was determined to uncover. Eleanor's curiosity about the maze was no secret. She had spent weeks studying its history, poring over old maps and journals in the estate's library. Some say she even believed the maze held a key to something greater, a hidden truth or a forgotten power. On the night of the party, dressed in a flowing gown that shimmered under the moonlight, Eleanor announced to a small group of friends that she intended to explore the maze. Despite their protests, she slipped away, her laughter echoing as she disappeared into the labyrinth's shadowy entrance. Witnesses recall the moments leading up to her disappearance with a mix of awe and unease. One guest claimed to have seen Eleanor standing at the maze center, her face illuminated by an eerie, otherworldly glow. Another swore they heard her voice calling out, not in fear, but in triumph, as though she had found what she was searching for. But as the hours passed and Eleanor failed to return, the mood shifted from curiosity to dread. A search party was organized, but the maze seemed to resist their efforts. Pathways that had been clear moments before now twisted and turned, leading the searchers in circles. It wasn't until dawn that they found the first clue, a silk scarf, unmistakably Eleanor's, lying crumpled on the ground. The fabric was stained with blood, though no trace of Eleanor herself could be found. To this day, the disappearance of Eleanor Grayson remains one of the maze's most chilling mysteries. Some believe she stumbled upon the maze's dark secret and paid the ultimate price. Others whisper that she still wanders its corridors, trapped in a realm between life and death. Whatever the truth, her story serves as a grim reminder of the dangers that lie within the Forbidden Garden maze, a place where curiosity can lead to catastrophe. As we move forward, the next tale takes us deeper into the maze's eerie heart, where the statues themselves seem to come alive, watching and waiting for those who dare to venture too close. Now shifting our gaze to the next chilling chapter of the Forbidden Garden maze, we find ourselves face to face with its haunted statues. These stone figures, carved with meticulous detail, stand as silent sentinels throughout the labyrinth. By day, they appear as nothing more than lifeless sculptures, their faces frozen in serene expressions. But as night falls, the maze takes on a sinister energy, and the statues seem to awaken, their presence growing more menacing with every passing hour. Visitors who have dared to wander the maze after dark often speak of an unsettling sensation, a feeling of being watched. Some claim to have seen the statues shift ever so slightly, their stone eyes tracking their movements as if alive. Others report hearing faint whispers emanating from the statues, though no one dares to linger long enough to decipher their words. One particularly harrowing account comes from a photographer who ventured into the maze with his camera, determined to capture its eerie beauty. As he focused his lens on one of the statues, he noticed something strange. The statue's expression, once calm and composed, had twisted into a grotesque scream, its stone features contorted in agony. Startled, he snapped a photo, only to find the image on his camera screen completely blank. The statue's face had returned to its original state, as if nothing had happened. Shaken, the photographer fled the maze, leaving behind his equipment and any desire to return. To this day, the haunted statues remain one of the maze's most unsettling mysteries. Are they merely the product of overactive imaginations, or do they hold a darker secret? Some believe the statues are guardians, cursed to protect the maze's hidden truths. Others whisper that they are the trapped souls of those who once dared to challenge the maze's power. Whatever the case, one thing is certain: those who encounter the statues are left with an indelible sense of dread, a reminder that the Forbidden Garden maze is a place where even the inanimate can come alive. As we venture further into the maze's shadowy depths, the next tale takes us into the realm of the whispering vines, where the very plants seem to hold secrets too dangerous to hear. Now, as we step deeper into the heart of the Forbidden Garden maze, we come upon its most enigmatic feature, the whispering vines. These tangled, overgrown tendrils snake their way through the labyrinth, their leaves rustling with a life of their own. By day, they appear harmless, even beautiful, their lush greenery adding an air of mystery to the maze. But as darkness falls, the vines seem to awaken, their whispers carrying secrets too dangerous to hear. Visitors who have wandered too close to the vines often speak of hearing their names called softly, as if the maze itself is summoning them. Others report faint murmurs, warnings that seem to drift on the wind, urging them to turn back. Some have even claimed to hear fragments of conversations, as though the vines are relaying messages from those who came before. But those who linger too long, who dare to listen too closely, often find themselves drawn into the maze's dark embrace. One such tale tells of a man named Thomas, who entered the maze on a moonless night, drawn by the allure of its mysteries. As he ventured deeper, he began to hear whispers, faint at first, but growing louder with every step. The vines seemed to coil around him, their leaves brushing against his skin, as if urging him forward. The whispers grew more insistent, promising answers to questions he had never dared to ask. Ignoring the growing sense of unease in his chest, Thomas followed the sound, deeper and deeper into the maze. Hours later, a search party found his belongings, a jacket, a flashlight, and a notebook tangled in the vines, as though the maze had claimed him as its own. His final entry in the notebook was a single chilling line: "They're calling me, I have to go." To this day, no trace of Thomas has ever been found, and the whispering vines remain a haunting reminder of the maze's power to ensnare those who dare to listen. As we move further into the maze's shadowy depths, the next story brings us face to face with the Shadow Watchers, figures that lurk just beyond the edge of sight, their presence a constant reminder that the maze is never truly empty. Now, as the shadows grow longer and the air grows colder, we turn our attention to the Shadow Watchers, the elusive figures that haunt the maze's twisting pathways. These shadowy presences are said to linger just beyond the edge of sight, their forms flickering in the dim light like phantoms. Visitors often describe a creeping sensation of being watched, a feeling that grows stronger the deeper they venture into the maze. Yet, no matter how quickly they turn or how far they run, the Shadow Watchers remain just out of reach, their presence a constant, unnerving reminder that the maze is never truly empty. One particularly chilling account comes from a group of friends who decided to explore the maze on a dare. As night fell, the group became separated, each member taking a different path in the labyrinth. One by one, they began to feel an overwhelming sense of dread, as though something was following them. One friend, Sarah, later recounted how she heard footsteps echoing behind her, though no one was there. Another, Mark, swore he saw a dark figure darting between the hedges, its movements too quick and unnatural to be human. As the night wore on, the friends grew more frantic, their calls to one another swallowed by the maze's oppressive silence. When they finally regrouped at the entrance, each had a similar story to tell, of shadows that seemed to move on their own, of whispers that sounded like laughter, and of a presence that felt both ancient and malevolent. Though they escaped the maze that night, none of them ever returned, and to this day, they refuse to speak of what they saw. The Shadow Watchers remain one of the maze's most enduring mysteries, their true nature as elusive as the figures themselves. Are they guardians of the maze, warning visitors to turn back, or are they something far more sinister, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? As we continue our journey, the next story brings us to the ghostly figure of the Eternal Gardener, a spectre whose presence adds yet another layer of terror to the maze's dark history. Now, as the maze's secrets deepen, we turn our attention to the Eternal Gardener, a spectral figure whose presence adds a haunting layer to the Forbidden Garden maze's dark history. This ghostly caretaker, believed to be the maze's original gardener, is said to still roam the labyrinth, tending to its overgrown plants long after his death. Witnesses describe a hunched figure, cloaked in tattered clothing, meticulously pruning roses with rusted shears, but as soon as anyone approaches, the gardener vanishes into the shadows, leaving behind only the faint scent of decay and the eerie sound of rustling leaves. One particularly unsettling encounter involves a visitor named Thomas, who ventured into the maze on a foggy autumn evening. As he wandered deeper into the labyrinth, he noticed the figure of the gardener ahead, bent over a bed of thorny roses. Intrigued, Thomas called out, but the gardener didn't respond. Instead, the figure continued its work, the metallic scrape of the shears echoing unnaturally in the stillness. Determined to uncover the truth, Thomas approached, but as he drew closer, the gardener turned to face him, revealing hollow, empty eyes that seemed to pierce through his very soul. Before Thomas could react, the figure dissolved into the mist, leaving him alone in the maze. Hours later, search parties found Thomas huddled near the maze entrance, muttering incoherently about the master's plan. His eyes were wide with terror, and his hands clutched a single black rose, its petals withered and crumbling to dust. To this day, Thomas refuses to speak of what he saw, but those who know him say he hasn't been the same since that night. The Eternal Gardener remains one of the maze's most enigmatic figures, a spectral reminder of the dark forces that linger within its walls. As we move forward, the next story takes us deeper into the maze's mysteries, where lost souls are said to wander endlessly, trapped in a loop of their final moments. What awaits us there is a chilling tale of despair and the unbreakable grip of the Forbidden Garden maze. As the shadows grow longer and the air grows colder, we step into the next chapter of the Forbidden Garden maze's dark legacy, the labyrinth of lost souls. This haunting section of the maze is said to be a prison for those who dared to wander too deep, their spirits forever bound to the twisting pathways. Visitors have reported encountering ghostly figures, their faces etched with despair, endlessly reliving their final moments in a macabre loop. These apparitions are not mere shadows. They are the echoes of those who once walked the maze, now trapped in a purgatory of their own making. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a woman named Clara, who entered the maze on a quiet summer evening. As she ventured further, she began to notice figures moving just beyond the edges of her vision. At first, she dismissed them as tricks of the light, but as she pressed on, the figures became clearer faces, frozen in expressions of terror, their movements stiff and unnatural. Clara's unease grew as she realized these were not living beings, but the restless souls of those who had come before her. The breaking point came when Clara turned a corner and came face to face with a figure that stopped her in her tracks. It was her own face staring back at her, hollow-eyed and pale, as if she were looking into a mirror of her own doom. The apparition reached out, its hand trembling, and Clara felt an icy chill crawl up her spine. Overcome with terror, she turned and fled, the sound of her own name whispered in the wind, chasing her through the maze. When she finally stumbled out into the moonlight, she was trembling and drenched in sweat, her mind haunted by the vision of her own ghostly double. The labyrinth of lost souls serves as a grim reminder of the maze's malevolent power, a place where the line between the living and the dead blurs. As we prepare to uncover the next mystery, the maze's secrets grow darker still, leading us to a hidden gate that promises or threatens to reveal the ultimate truth of the Forbidden Garden maze. As the echoes of Clara's harrowing encounter fade, we now turn our attention to one of the maze's most enigmatic and feared features, the Forbidden Gate. Hidden deep within the labyrinth, this ancient structure is said to be a portal to another realm, a place where the rules of our world no longer apply. The gate, weathered and overgrown with thorny vines, is rumored to open only under the most ominous conditions when the moon is full, the wind is still, and the air is thick with an unnatural silence. Those who have stumbled upon it speak of an eerie pull, as if the gate itself is alive, beckoning the curious to step through. One fateful night, a group of teenagers, emboldened by youthful recklessness and a thirst for adventure, decided to test the legends. Armed with flashlights and bravado, they ventured into the maze, determined to find the gate and uncover its secrets. As they navigated the twisting pathways, the air grew colder, and the usual sounds of the night seemed to vanish, replaced by an oppressive stillness. When they finally reached the gate, it stood before them like a relic from another time, its iron bars twisted into grotesque shapes that seemed to shift in the dim light. Ignoring the warnings etched into the gate's surface, symbols and words in a language none of them could understand, the teenagers worked together to pry it open. As the gate creaked ajar, a gust of icy wind rushed out, extinguishing their flashlights and plunging them into darkness. Moments later, the gate slammed shut behind them, and the maze fell silent once more. Search parties scoured the area for days, but no trace of the teenagers was ever found. The only clue left behind was the faint sound of their laughter, echoing through the maze as if carried by an unseen force. To this day, visitors claim to hear those same ghostly giggles, a chilling reminder of the gate's deadly allure. The Forbidden Gate stands as a testament to the maze's darkest mysteries, a threshold between worlds that should never be crossed. As we delve deeper into the maze's secrets, the next chapter brings us face to face with an object of both beauty and terror, a cursed rose that blooms only once every decade, its petals as dark as the night itself. As the echoes of the Forbidden Gate fade into the maze's shadowy depths, we now turn our attention to a tale of beauty and despair, the legend of the cursed rose. Deep within the heart of the labyrinth, hidden among the overgrown thorns and twisted vines, lies a single black rose. Unlike any other flower, this rose blooms only once every 10 years, its petals as dark as midnight, and its fragrance intoxicatingly sweet. But this is no ordinary bloom. It is said that whoever plucks the rose will be granted a single wish, a wish that comes at a price far greater than anyone could imagine. The story of the cursed rose begins with a woman named Isabella, known for her striking beauty and insatiable desire to remain forever young. One fateful evening, as whispers of the rose's power reached her ears, Isabella ventured into the maze, determined to find it. Guided by the faint glow of the moon, she navigated the labyrinth's treacherous paths until she stumbled upon the rose, its dark petals shimmering like polished obsidian. Overcome with longing, she reached out and plucked it from its stem, her heart racing as she made her wish to possess eternal beauty. At first, it seemed her wish had been granted. Isabella's reflection in the mirror grew more radiant with each passing day, her skin flawless and her features impossibly perfect. But soon, the price of her wish began to reveal itself. Her beauty became unnatural, almost otherworldly, and those who gazed upon her felt an inexplicable unease. Then, without warning, Isabella began to wither. Her once vibrant hair turned brittle and grey. Her luminous skin cracked and faded, and her body grew frail, as if the very essence of her life was being drained away. Within days, she vanished entirely, leaving behind only the faint scent of roses and a chilling reminder of the maze's cruel bargains. To this day, the cursed rose remains one of the maze's most feared legends, a symbol of the dangers that lie in the pursuit of vanity and desire. Its dark petals continue to bloom once every decade, a silent invitation to those who dare to dream, and a warning to those who dare to wish. As we move deeper into the maze's mysteries, the next chapter brings us face to face with a detective who sought to unravel its secrets, only to become ensnared in its malevolent grasp. As the tale of the cursed rose lingers in the air, we now step into the shadowed footsteps of Detective Samuel Hargrove, a man driven by logic and reason, determined to unravel the enigma of the Forbidden Garden maze. Known for his sharp mind and unshakable resolve, Samuel had spent years solving the unsolvable, but nothing could have prepared him for what awaited within the labyrinth's twisting corridors. Armed with a lantern and a notebook filled with theories, he entered the maze one moonless night, convinced that the disappearances were the work of a cunning criminal, not the supernatural. Samuel's investigation began with meticulous precision. He mapped the maze's pathways, noting every turn and dead end, though he soon discovered that the maze seemed to shift and change, defying his careful records. Strange symbols carved into the stone walls caught his attention, their meanings indecipherable yet unsettling. As he ventured deeper, he began to uncover fragments of the maze's dark history, a journal left behind by a previous explorer, pages filled with frantic scribbles about whispers in the wind and shadows that moved on their own. The deeper he went, the more the maze seemed to resist his presence, the air growing colder and the silence heavier. One night, as Samuel rested beneath the gnarled branches of an ancient tree, he heard a faint, rhythmic sound like the beating of a heart. Following the noise, he stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the maze, its walls pulsating with an eerie, organic rhythm. It was then that the truth struck him like a thunderbolt. The maze was alive. Not merely a structure of stone and vine, but a living, breathing entity, feeding on the fear and despair of those who entered. The symbols on the walls, the shifting pathways, the whispers, it was all part of the maze's design, a malevolent force that lured its victims into its grasp. Determined to expose the maze's secrets, Samuel pressed on, his resolve unshaken, even as the walls seemed to close in around him. But the maze had other plans. As he reached the heart of the labyrinth, he found himself face to face with a towering, shadowy figure, a manifestation of the maze's dark will. The figure spoke without words, its voice echoing in Samuel's mind, offering him a choice: leave and forget all he had seen, or stay and become one with the maze. Samuel, ever the detective, chose to stay, convinced he could outwit the entity. But the maze was not so easily defeated. In a chilling moment of realization, Samuel understood too late that he had become its latest victim, his body and mind absorbed into the labyrinth's endless expanse. To this day, some claim to hear the faint scratching of a pen on paper within the maze, as if Samuel still records his findings, forever trapped in his pursuit of the truth. His story serves as a grim reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved, and that the Forbidden Garden Maze is not merely a place. It is a predator, waiting patiently for its next unsuspecting prey. As we near the end of our journey through these dark tales, the maze's final secret awaits, a revelation that blurs the line between reality and nightmare. As the final whispers of the Forbidden Garden Maze fade into the night, we are left with a chilling tapestry of stories that blur the line between reality and nightmare. From the cursed black rose that grants wishes at a terrible cost, to the shadowy figures that stalk the maze's twisting pathways, each tale serves as a grim reminder of the labyrinth's malevolent nature. The maze is not just a place, it is a living, breathing entity, a predator that feeds on fear and despair, luring its victims into an endless cycle of terror. Detective Samuel Hargrove's fate stands as a stark warning, a testament to the maze's insidious power and the futility of trying to outwit it. The Forbidden Garden Maze remains a place of mystery and dread, its secrets buried deep within its ever-shifting corridors. It waits patiently, as it has for centuries, for its next unsuspecting visitor. Will you dare to enter, or will you heed the warnings whispered by those who came before? Now we turn to you. Which of these eerie tales unsettled you the most? Was it the haunting statues that seemed to come alive, the whispers of the vines, or the chilling fate of Detective Hargrove? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know which story sent shivers down your spine. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark heart of the Forbidden Garden Maze, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more spine-tingling tales. Until next time, remember, some mysteries are better left unsolved, and some doors are better left unopened. The maze is waiting. Will you answer its call?